Okay, so for today we're going to be doing probability. So I want you to take down there what's in that bluey greeny box. I want you to take down this into your notes. This is our definition. So for equally likely outcomes, the probability of event E occurring is given by the definition: probability of an event E, number of favourable outcomes. So it's number of favourable outcomes all over the number of possible outcomes. Now, favourable outcomes could be what the question is. So what are they looking for? Or you could write it as number of outcomes of interest. So it's number of favourable outcomes all over the number of possible outcomes. So just looking at this guy here, for example 1, we have a spinner. Okay, so it says, what is the probability of getting a green? So they could just write down P green. So the event is green. So probability of getting a green. So it's the number of favourable outcomes. So the favourable outcomes, or the outcome of interest, is what you're looking for, which is green. So you see, how many green sections do you have? So you can see that we have 1. Okay, so that would be our favourable outcome. All over the possible outcomes is all over how many actually sections are there. So we'd see in this spinner then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So remember the last day we were doing probability scale. Probability can only go from 0 to 1. So then the probability of getting a green is 1 over 5, because 1 of the 5 sections is green. So if they ask you to get the probability of getting a yellow, okay, so we just go to our spinner again and you see how many yellows you have. So you have 1, 2, so it's 2 outcomes out of 5, because 2 of the 5 sections are yellow. Okay, looking at another example here then, so it says a fair 6-sided die is rolled. So what is the probability of getting a 4? Okay, so a 4 is what we're looking for. So that's our number of outcomes of interest, or a favourable one, out of the total number of outcomes. So, or the total number of possible outcomes. So each of the outcomes then can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. They're equally likely to occur. So the total number of outcomes is 6. So you always have to figure out what is the total number of outcomes. So then the probability of getting a 4, there's only 1 4 in the outcome, so it's 1 out of 6. So remember, it has to be a fraction or a decimal, and the value has to be going from 0 to 1. Okay, so it's 0 to 1. Okay guys, so we'll do another example here. So this example then states, below is a number of letter tiles. Okay, so we can see, if you just look at all those tiles, it spells the word parallelogram. So one of these tiles is selected at random. Now you see that an awful lot at the start of every question. And what that means, that at random, means that each tile has an equal chance of being selected. So they'll always say that, okay? So it's not biased. Each tile has an equal chance of being selected. So we must work out the probability of getting these 6 parts, okay? So the first one is the probability of getting an A. So remember, probability is the number of favourable outcomes, okay, or the number of outcomes of interest, which in this case is A, all over the total number of outcomes. Now in this, they didn't tell us how many outcomes that we have. So we can clearly calculate it by counting the number of tiles. So we have how many tiles? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So then we have 13 tiles. So we're going to have 13 outcomes. Okay, so that's a 3 there for me. So then it says, work out the probability of getting an A. So we're going to see how many A's are there. So what's our favourable outcomes? So you just go through the list and you can see you've 1, 2, 3 A's. Okay, so it's the 3 A's all over the total, which is 3 out of 13. Now if you look at that fraction, I can't break it down. So you can always see, can you break it down? Always leave a fraction in its simplest form. Okay, so then it says find the probability of getting an L. So we'll see how many L's do we have. So that would be 1, 2, 3. So again, that works out to be the probability of getting an L is 3 out of 13. The next one is an O. So you just simply go back to your list and you can see that the number of favourable outcomes of getting an O is 1. So it's 1 out of 13. Okay, so, and then this says this guy is an A or an L, and then all of these ones has an A or an O and an L and an O. So when you see the word or, if you see the word or, that means and, okay? So we need to use the plus button, okay? So or would be equals to the plus. So in this guy here, then we have A or L. Okay, so it's A plus L. So we know up here the number of A's were 3, or you could just simply count them 1, 2, 3, and the number of L's was 1, 2, 3. So 3 and 3 will give me 6 out of the total then for probability. So it's 6 out of 13, and I can't break that down. The same thing with the A or again. So when you see or now in maths and probability, remember it's plus. So it's A plus the O's, so the A's and the O's. So you could do it by looking here to say that your A's were 3 and your O's were 1. So that would give you the 4 out of the 13. And clearly, and otherwise, you can always go back and count the A's and the O's tiles. The same with the L and the O, and that will work out to be 4 out of 13. So we'll do another example here. So a fair die is rolled. What is the probability of getting a 5? Okay, so we know that when we roll a die, our outcomes are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So it's out of 6. So our total, okay, so if they don't give you the total, you must write that down. So our total for this guy, so our total is 6. Okay, so then the probability of getting a 5 then, okay, so how many 5s could you get? It's 1, so it's 1 out of 5, and I can't break that down. A 1 or a 2, so a 1 or a 2 then will give me 2, so you have 1, 2, just write them down, the outcomes, 4, 5, and 6. That's my 3s. So a 1 or a 2, so how many 1s and 2 do you have? So you have 2 out of 6. So we write that down then as 2 out of 6, and that can always break down then to 1 all over 3. So always break it down to its simplest form. The next guy is 4 or more, so it's 4 and more, so 4 and greater than 4, so it's 1, so it's 1, 2, 3. So again, that would break down to 3 out of 6, which would be a half. Okay, so the next one is an odd number. So an odd number is a number that can be divisible by 2. So in 1 to 6, it'll be 1, 3, and 5. Okay, so again, that would be 3 out of 6. Okay, so that would be 3 out of 6, which would break down to a half. Okay, less than 3 then. Okay, so less than 3 would be 2 out of 6, which would be 1/3. So remember, less than 3, okay, so less than 3 would be your 1 and your 2. So that's where I got the 2 out of 6 is equal to 1/3. The last one then would be a prime number. So remember, a prime number is a number has only 2 factors, itself and 1. So it would be 2, 3, and 5. So a prime number, I'll do it down here, will break down to 3 out of 6, which is a half. Okay, so I'll just do another example here. So it says students in a class are asked to list a favourite type of pet. So the results are shown. So those have a dog is 7, 4 people have a cat. Fish is 3, 4 have a rodent, and 2 have none. So a student is picked at random from the class to find the probability of getting a dog. Okay, so again, we don't have the total. So the first thing that you have to do is you always have to get the total. So to get the total, you add them. So adding them up, that would give me 7 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 4, plus 4 plus 2. So when you add all them up, you'll get 20. Okay, so what's the probability of getting a dog then? So the probability of getting a dog then is going to be 7 out of 20. And I can't break that down any further. The next one, the probability of getting a cat. Okay, so we go to cat, so we see cat is 4, so 4 out of the total possible outcomes, so it would be 4 out of 20, which that would break down to 1/5. The next one then would be the probability, I can see, can I move it up here now for a second? The probability, and okay, so the probability of getting a dog or a cat, okay, so remember that or means plus, so you must add them. So 7, so a dog is 7 and a cat is 4. So 7 plus 4 is 11 out of 20. And that does not break down. So that would be 11 out of 20. The next one would be the probability of getting a fish. Okay, so a fish is, so we'll just see what's the probability of getting a fish. So you read it off here. So fish is 3 out of 20. And you can't break that down, so we leave it as 3 all over 20. Okay, so the next one then, it says not a rodent. Okay, so it's not a rodent. So that means we have to discount the rodent. So the rodent was 4. So our total was 20. So that means we're adding up the 7, the 4, the 3, and the 2. So not a rodent. So I'll write it down here. So not a rodent, I'll just do R for rodent, is going to be 16 out of 20. And always break that down to its simplest form, which is 4 out of 5. More often than not, you're going to get questions on playing cards, okay? So this list that I have down here, you have to just learn it off, okay? So in a pack of playing cards, there's 52. So our total will always be 52. They don't count the jokers. Okay, and then I suppose, you know, with the playing cards, they can be divided up into 4 different suits, 2 red and 2 black. So here this would be the clubs, this is the diamonds, you have the hearts, and then you have the spades. Okay, so there's 13 then in each one. Okay, so there's 13 in each suit. You have 4 aces. So here you have the ace of clubs, the ace of diamonds, the ace of hearts, and then the ace of spades. You have your 4 kings, your 4 queens, and your 4 jacks. So they could also ask you about picture cards. Okay, so how many picture cards are there? So you can clearly see here then, like the picture cards here are these guys. So there's 3 in each suit. Okay, so you have the jack, the queen, and the king. So in total then you have 3, 6, 9, 12. So if they ask you for a picture card, okay, so if picture cards, there is a total of 12. Okay, so that would be out of 12. So you need to know that. Okay, so going through an example here then, we're talking about a pack of cards. Okay, so it says a card is drawn at random from a standard pack of cards. What is the probability each of the following events of getting a red card? So again, we know that probability is a number of favourable outcomes all over the total number of outcomes. So in a pack of cards, we know that the total is 52, and red, there is 26 red cards. So that would give me the 26 out of 52. And remember, we always leave a fraction in its simplest form. So that's where we're getting the half then. Okay, so the next one, they said a heart. So the number of cards that are a heart. Okay, so remember in each suit, we said there was 13. So that's 13 out of 52. Again, always leave it down, break it down to its simplest form. So that would give me a quarter. Next one then, they asked the probability of getting a 7. Okay, so there is 4 7s. So you'd have the 7 of spades, the 7 of clubs, the 7 of hearts, and the 7 of diamonds. So that's where we're getting the 4 out of 52, and that breaks down to 1 out of 13. Okay, and then a picture card then. So we know that the number of picture cards we said was 12. Okay, out of 52, and again, when you break that down, that would be 3 out of 13. Okay, so the last example then is where they give you like a 2-way table, and you have to fill in the missing parts before you can answer the questions on the probability. So it says, at the end of a summer camp, 50 boys and girls were asked to name their favourite game at the camp. The results were given in the table below. Okay, so we'll just say 15 girls said tennis was their favourite sport. 6 boys said tennis, and then the basketball and volleyball results were as shown there. Okay, so it says copy and complete the totals in the 2-way table. So to get the total number for girls, we just add up across. So 5 and 10 is 25, and 5 would be 30. So we just simply fill in our 30 there. Dealing with the boys, then we go across this row. So 6 said tennis, 12 said basketball, and 2 said volleyball. So that would give me a total of 20. So that would give me my 20. And then to get the totals down in this column, then we just add 15 and 6. So that would give me 21. Next one would be 10 and 12 to give me 22, to give me 5 and 2, to give me 7, and 20 and 30 would give me 50. So that's doing the first part of it, okay? So filling in the chart. Okay, so once we have that done, then we can answer the questions on the probability. So if a person was selected at random from the group of 50, calculate the probability that it's a boy. Okay, so we go to boys, we see the total were 20. So that would give me 20 out of 50. So 20 to 50, again, we always break it down, so that would be 2/5. So that's my E. The B part then, they said, what's the probability that the person selected was a girl who named tennis as her favourite game. So it's a girl who named tennis. You go to girls and tennis, that's 15. Remember, you always put probability out of the total. So that would give me 15 out of 50. And again, remember, we always break it down to its simplest form. Okay, so 5 will go into both of them, so that would give me 3 out of 10. Okay, so the next one then that you had, if a person was selected at random from the group of 50, calculate that those who named basketball as his or her favourite. So it's the total for basketball. So we go to the basketball column, and then you'll go down here and you see that the total for basketball was 22 out of 50. So then that is 22 out of 50, and 2 will go into both of them to break it down to 11 out of 25. Okay, now, so that's kind of pretty straightforward. Now, just be careful with this one here, okay? So it said if a girl was selected, okay? So just be careful with that. It did say girl, okay? So that means all we're talking about is the girls. So this time our total will be 30. Okay, so if a girl was selected, find the probability that she had named volleyball as her favourite game. So it's only girls, so then our total would be 30, and we're looking for volleyball. So those who liked volleyball from the girls is 5. So then the answer then to the last part then would be 5 out of 30. Okay, so just be careful with the 30 here, okay, because they just said girls was selected, not out of the total. So it's 5 out of 30, and you always break that down in its simplest form, which is 1/6.